All right, so this is OCWG meeting number 29. And yeah, let's got a couple things to chat about today. Aaron, you want to start off? Start us off?
Yeah, sure, I'll
Uh,
start off. Let me actually do pull up a screen share. Send a request to share.
So just gotten an allow.
All right, hopefully
there
you
we
can see
are.
that. Yeah. Boy, this Zoom window is really covering up stuff. Let me move it away. All right. So I So with the recent updates to the spec, there's been a couple updates, including some updates that I made just yesterday while I was reviewing everything and working on it. There's some new features in OCIF called the root node proposal and the nesting canvas proposal, and these are things that I like uh, really wanted to see, and so I'm really happy that they're here, and I have implemented them. So here's my repository for my Git implementation. Uh, all of these commits I just did yesterday. I went like a 10-hour like OCIF implementing spree yesterday. Um, Doing the sets into groups, the anchor refactoring, the root nodes, and then the nested. This took a bit of time, but it was worth it. Let me show off my little test scene here. So I have there's really nothing of notes here that's like really cool looking. It's just a tree of nodes. We have A, B, C, D, E, like just like that. So here we have I should maybe make this the editor a bit bigger so people can see things a bit more. Oh, the maximum lets me go is 3. I've actually never inputted a custom scale before. All right, so maybe that'll show up a little better on the recording. Um, we have node. This is a scene file called a.tscn, and its root node is A. And then there's B, and that's a child, and then there's B is just there to fluff up the tree structure just to make sure it all works with the grandchildren and such. And then we have node C, and C, you notice that the text here is white and everything below it is yellow. That's because
Mhm.
C is in this scene, and the children are in another scene. But there's also this clapperboard icon on the right of C, which means that C is itself also an instance of another scene. So if I actually click here, we can see C is also the root node of this other scene file called c.tscn. Um, and we have C, there's nodes D, E, and F in here. And then if you look here, there's also Y and Z. Now, if I open up here, we have another scene called X, and X has a root node X, which is Y and Z children. And you may notice that there's two nodes here called Y and Z. Uh, and it may seem a little odd at a glance to have two nodes with the same name, which would be the same ID. But remember, these are actually two instances of the same scene. So that is why this happens. Because those are both the same scene, but the root nodes get renamed. So you see X isn't called X here. The instances of X have the name kind of overridden.
Mhm.
So then what I can do here is if I go into the scene export open canvas interchange format, and I go to export it to a.ocif, I save it, overwrite it, whatever. Um, Then when I go over here, I have a.ocif, and I can open this, and here's the nodes, and I could show the children of there, and there's more, and I show the children of there, and there's more. Um, and then there's also these individual files, c.ocif, and it looks like that. There's the instances there, um, and there's the X scene. So this it makes sense, right? It's not too crazy, but it is a little complicated to implement. And let me actually show you what do those files look like on the inside. So if I go, no, that's not the right repo. Do this one. Uh, so here is a dot okif. So we have these nodes. We have A, B, and C. And if we look
Hmm.
at C, it has a resource which is pointing to c.okif, which is actually not a file name. Um, it is the ID of this resource. And then that
Hmm.
resource has one representation, which is set to a location of a file path and the MIME type of application slash okif plus JSON. And my exporter implicitly creates a folder with the same name, just because I figured that would be a good way to organize things and avoid naming conflicts. You know, if like two nested scenes like had a different OCIF files that were given the same name or something. Um, so then yes, C is the same way. There's, you know, these two nodes here that each reference x.okif, and then there's a single resource that has x.okif and points to that file. And also each of these files has the root node property that's been recently added. So this points C points to its node as the root node, A points to A as the root node, and similarly X points to X as the root node, which gets renamed in its instances. Um, so that is the implementation of the nesting canvas proposal as described here and in the root node specification here.
Very cool. What's the use case in Godot for this? Like, where do you frequently see this coming up in real world Godot usage?
So to be honest, the kind of status quo I think is people typically don't do this because well, they're first of all, for 2D things, people don't have a canvas format currently, which is great to
Mhm.
see OCIF, helping to change that. Um, but then for 3D, people usually just want like a simple file that can move their meshes. So the
Mhm.
2D equivalent of that would be like, bringing in your images, I guess, and that's like trivially simple. Um, but this enables you to have more complex scene trees that are set up in a agnostic way. So imagine having an entire like nested UI system split up into multiple files, and you make
Mhm.
that in like Figma or something, and you could just bring that into Godot engine. And all
Mhm.
of those files can reference each other and import as one unified structure. That would be very cool.
Very cool.
I mean, nesting obviously is very useful. If you get more and more maps exchanged in OCIF, you can just plug them into your big unified personal knowledge map, and everything is organized in one big map via nesting.
Mhm.
That's how Infinity Maps is handling data. I have a question
Mhm.
about the node renaming. I didn't grok it when you presented it. If I if I have a node called A and my resource points to B, and B says B is the root node, then that's how B is renamed into A.
So
So the idea of
effectively,
the,
yes. Um,
okay,
what if we have like this example file x.okif where x is the root, but then its instances, um, we have E and F, and those are the what it gets renamed to. Because you can't have two nodes here both called X. That would be weird.
Yeah, okay. So just to add some nomenclature, when I wrote that snippet of the spec, I called it the host canvas is the one that's doing the import to avoid the terms parent-child. And then the imported one is, yeah, the imported canvas. So host and imported. It's not a nice pair, but at least okay.
Yeah,
So, so the host node overrides properties from the imported node, which
correct.
is clever because in that way I can reuse an imported map and customize it to my liking. And that works reasonably intuitively how I override properties in a JSON tree. So if I define something at the same path, then my object replaces the object that was there. It
Yes.
gets a bit tricky though with our extension system. There we need to define, I think, a little bit better how this overriding actually works because we have an array of extensions in the imported node and in our node, and the default would be to completely replace the array.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's maybe not what the intuitive intention would be. So we should maybe define that for
Uh, I'll
our
I'll be
extension arrays. Yeah.
I'll be honest. It does need is a problem that does need to be solved, but I don't know if that's something specifically that I would need because the instance of a scene usually isn't going to be specifying more data uh in that describes like the node itself because that's usually defined in the the subscene and not in the host scene. What is defined in the host scene is stuff that must be different. For example, the transform, because you can't have, multiple instances of the scene all overlapping. That would look dumb. So, one of the things that my code does is make sure that the the root node of the subscene is excluded when we're considering the visible and transform properties. And then instead, these properties are used on instances of the scene in the host scene.
Um, let's take text styling as an example, because those are quite orthogonal. So we have a font size, a font color, and a font family. So I'm importing something, but I'm old, so I need font size to be overwritten, but not the other parts. Font family
Right.
should stay the same. So then I want to override some properties within the text style extension. And for that, we need to define that we
Hmm.
don't replace the complete array of extensions completely, but treat it more like a map.
Right.
Like a map with like a coalesce where you like coalesce the override properties onto the map. So if they were defined in the parent, they would be overridden by the child properties. But if they are not defined in the parent, they'd just be like added on.
Yeah, but avoid parent and child. The host is overriding the imported
Sorry.
thing, which is a
Yeah.
bit counterintuitive, but yeah, but more powerful. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you're right.
then,
That is a good, important use case that needs to be handled. Yeah.
Cool. And you were saying, Max, that that's not currently clarified in
no,
the change
it's
there.
not, and we should define how this overriding mechanism works, and then use it
Hmm.
for this host import stuff, and also for normal parent-child inheritance, because it's the
Mm,
same mechanism.
yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Did you make a note of that?
Yeah.
Great. Cool.
So if we have the same understanding there, then I can put it to words.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think that makes sense. Okay. Here, Aaron agreeing as
Okay.
well.
And then Aaron, I agree to all the changes you made except one, which is you said if you do this and this, then the file is invalid. And that's a strategy we haven't had so far. Usually we do, then we ignore that property
Okay.
because invalid. I mean, we could also do invalid, but we haven't done before. So
I
what
mean,
should happen then?
that's just up to you on how strict you want the spec to be. Um, from my experience with like people implementing GLTF files wrong and implementations being too loose and too willing to accept bad things, and then you send it to another implementation and it's completely broken. Um, I do lean towards making it as strict as possible, but feel free to push back on that if you want to do that change you said to just say ignore the property. I'm happy with that. Yeah.
We could also say a good implementation should emit a warning to have at least that in the ground.
Mhm. Yeah, and we can also have the validator emit a warning on this case as well, right? When you do feed it in, because we do have a validator. Right now, the validator just validates that it's valid JSON. It
Mm.
doesn't like validate a whole bunch of things about the spec, as far as I know. But eventually, we should be able to emit things like warnings of like this doesn't match the schema. Um,
Yeah, we're not very strict in that regard. Maybe we should start at this place and say blah 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 turns the file invalid, and implementation should ignore it and emit a warning. I mean, we
yeah,
can also write the implementation should just die, but most
it's less
implementors
less
don't
useful.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think we've learned from like HTML and other things that having a very permissive implementation or a permissive strategy for rendering the markup can be very helpful as well. Um,
Okay, but to
um,
emit a warning would be helpful too to not spread false structures around.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. Alrighty, cool. Thanks for implementing that, Aaron.
Um,
That's awesome.
yeah,
And Max
awesome.
for writing it up. It's so cool to see
Yep.
the pairing of that, of Max writes the adds the idea. Well, we've talked about it over the last several meetings, Max adding it
Yeah,
into the
but
spec and then having Aaron implement.
I mostly wrote down good ideas from Aaron.
Yeah, and it's good that we got that into a, a format that kind of fits together well with OCIF. I don't know why it did not occur to me to just have a property that says this is the root node, because I was just thinking, GLTF braid. Oh, root node, the node number zero is the root node. Well, node number zero doesn't exist.
Yep.
And for the point about like giving a warning when something's invalid, this is an example of something I've already done like in Godot. There was this problem where it was too loose in accepting misaligned data in files, and it was just not importing in
Mhm.
other engines, and even though the asset worked fine in Godot, so but now it shows a warning that's like, hey, your asset's wrong.
Got it.
Also, I do want to briefly point out the kind of let's call it irony that's the only resource that I have implemented in my OCIF importer is another OCIF. Uh, wait, I don't have like the path node or oval node or images or anything. It's very much a uh I'm a nerd and I just wanted to get the structure right importer.
Yep. That's great. Well, shall we move on to other topics? First, I'd like to say welcome, Mitchell. Like, uh-oh. Oh, okay. We dropped screen sharing. I was gonna say you guys all disappeared because Zoom decided to reorganize my UI. Hey Mitchell, welcome. You can unmute and
Hello.
introduce yourself if you like, or you can just lurk. It's totally fine.
Um, I am not I'm not involved in any projects. I'm just here because I like open standards and I'm Aaron's friend.
Cool.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Also,
Welcome.
Mitchell is a very heavy user of Figma. So
Ah,
he
Mm,
might have useful input into like, how we could design stuff to be work well with Figma.
very
Thank you.
cool.
great.
Yeah, I think especially I think the starting place for integrating with Figma might be FigJam instead of Figma, just because it has a much smaller feature set. And I think there's probably a higher overlap between people using FigJam for things that are like whiteboardy, infinite canvasy shaped, as opposed to sort of the all-in nature of working with Figma itself, which is so powerful.
Yeah, no,
Um,
totally understand.
cool. All right. Do we have other stuff? Michael, do you want to talk about some of the work that you've done? Oh, go ahead, Max. I see
I
your
have two
hand.
more little issues. Yeah.
Let's do it.
So we've added that we can tell the root node what its size is, and effectively that defines like the size of the canvas. So for the initial camera, that gives us a little hint. So the initial coordinate system, the root item, has a size. So if then an item is placed outside of that root item, it will initially not be visible. This is cool, but so we can place the virtual camera in the beginning in any rectangle as long as it starts top left 0. Because we don't have any other relative coordinate system yet, and we cannot say we want to start here. That doesn't work. We don't have an offset
I like that
to.
personally because that falls into convention over configuration, which is a term that I've always used in my head, but only knew the words for like literally last night when I was looking up stuff. So it just says that like, okay, you want this to be like where the camera starts, well then make all your objects at that position because it makes sense to start at 0, 0. It's simple.
Yeah, but what if I have a canvas where I want to share? Let's open the canvas and look at bottom right. Some tools, I think
Mhm.
TL Draw has like a view start position where the camera looks
Yeah.
at some other spot.
Mhm.
So we don't have a way to express that yet. And I think last time we discussed we want to add extra properties to the canvas itself to extend the core JSON schema to have a, yeah, how do you call it, camera position defined? And if we
Yep.
are at that, do we need
I think
multiple
it's called like a
camera
view box or
positions?
something like that in TL Draw.
And do we need multiple named view boxes or just one? Or what are the requirements for the view box? I'm not familiar with TL Draw enough.
Yeah, I'll go look up the TL Draw docs while we're talking, but I think the general idea here is if we're following the pattern of the rest of the OCIF spec, it's possible we probably should have the canvas itself be a map that can be extended with extensions, right? Um,
So a third type of extensions, node extensions.
um, good question. Yeah. How different are our node and relation permission? I mean, extensions. I'm trying to remember if did we unify them or not? It's been
We
2 weeks
didn't
since I've thought
unify
about this
them.
clearly. Okay, we have not
It's two
unified them.
different kind of extensions because relations and nodes are different. Nodes have more
Right.
visual properties and relations are very freewheeling. Relations only need to
Yeah.
have an ID and everything else follows from the
Hmm.
structure they have.
Gotcha.
So in just as a point of reference in GLTF land,
Hmm.
there's the way you extend anything in GLTF is you throw this extensions property on something, then you have some
Hmm.
prefix, some extension name with a reserved prefix so that you don't conflict with anybody else's name, and then you have whatever properties you want inside of that. And this can be thrown on anything, but it can also be thrown on just the root object. So you could just extend the entire file itself. Um, so we could do something like that for OCIF. That not saying it needs to look exactly like this, but this is what GLTF
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, I would think that the root node would be an could be a target of node extensions. In other words, the root node could be extended by node extensions. And I'm wondering
Sure.
if that would satisfy that constraint, Max. Although to your point, maybe it's actually a different kind of thing. because these extensions are very meta, like viewbox. It doesn't make sense to throw a
Yeah,
viewbox extension onto another node,
Yeah,
other than the root node.
the root node, for node extensions on the root node is useful when that extension makes sense for other nodes, and you just want to be able to put it like on the whole document as well. And that's what the root node is there for. So like you could just put stuff on it if you want a node extension to apply in the whole document. But if something is just for the whole document itself, like some kind of like camera position, it doesn't make sense for a grandchild node to say like, "Hey, the camera position goes here." I mean, actually, well, maybe it makes sense. I'm not entirely sure, but like my thought in my head right now is that this is more of like a just you have one per document type thing, and then that makes sense to go in like a dedicated area that doesn't interact with the root node at all.
Mhm.
I think we're on the same page then that we should have canvas extensions, and they are a different thing. And
Yeah,
there's they use the same mechanism, but they are a third type of extension.
I think that's probably right. Which there's the whole, since we've been hat tipping to Rails already with convention over configuration, which is where that community came from. We could also talk about the dry principle of don't repeat yourself, which basically says the first time you do a thing, do it. The second time you do a thing, just create a new thing. And the third time, consider unifying those. So we have node extensions, we have relation extensions. Now we have canvas. Should we just have extensions? Um, and is it helpful to collapse those distinctions, or is it more helpful to maintain the separateness of those different? Like I'm reading the extensions doc right now and musing over that.
What
Um,
would it practically mean to combine them? Because like if you're making an extension, I would assume that it only makes sense to say like, oh, this extension is for nodes or this extension is for the whole canvas. You can't, it doesn't, it would be maybe weird to have an extension that applies to more than one thing, or maybe there should be multiple extensions at that point.
What about extensions that can be applied to relations and nodes, or to the canvas
mhm,
and relations? We could
mhm.
have that a relation states for what types it is applicable.
True.
It's more a cognitive conceptual thing to say, yeah, there's only one type of extension, the extensions. Yeah, you define where you can apply them or where meaning is defined.
Yeah, that's a good
Sure,
point.
but it's just extensions. And they all follow the same
They
structure
do follow the
anyway.
same structure. Yeah. And they
So
just, yeah. Um,
it's more marketing to
and
say it's just one kind of extensions, because in reality, probably
yeah,
most fall clearly into one category.
yeah. No, that's a good point. And I'm looking at kind of the way that we've structured them in the extensions folder. It's pretty clear. Uh yeah. Okay. I think I buy that it's just another type of, it's another thing that can be extended with our general concept that we have of extensions, but it's going to be a separate kind of thing to extend the canvas than it is to extend a node or extend a relation. Okay.
So
Type
that's then
of extension.
the target of an extension, or the
Well, it's interesting because,
how do we call that?
yeah, we don't really specify that. If you look at like a a node extension is a node extension based on where it shows up in the file, right?
We also
Like
have the
there's,
node in the schema. We have different sections for node extensions and relation extensions. So currently we separate them a lot syntactically.
can you share your screen, Max, and show an example? I'm struggling to find one in the docs right now.
The schemas right
And
now are all called blah blah dash node JSON or dash rel JSON to
yeah,
distinguish node from, yeah. So that's one way
it's in the
we do
name.
this.
It's in the name
Yeah,
is the way we do
yeah,
it. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Yep.
And we
No, that's what
don't
I
have to
was
do that.
noticing. I was noticing, but there's not we don't actually have a extensions and then a nested map of node extensions and then a nested map of relation
No,
extensions.
no, no.
It's just it's just one thing that's schemas. And then in the schemas, they have a name. In the name, we
Yeah,
by convention include the type of extension that it is.
yeah,
OCIF slash node slash thing, OCIF slash rel slash thing. So I guess we'd have OCIF slash canvas slash thing. And then the other thing I was going to say, the other thing that defines whether extension is a node extension or relation extension is also where what item shows up referring to that, like what kind of thing references that schema in its data, in its property bag, right? Like if a node
yeah.
references that thing in its property bag, then it is a node extension because it's being used on a node. We like the naming thing is completely arbitrary. We don't, do we even encourage it like must or should?
Maybe, but if we unify more, maybe we should drop that naming.
That's kind of what I'm wondering. It's like suggestive, but not required. Um,
Yeah, that makes sense because really the name of a schema does give you like a hint to how it's used. Like here's a brief example again from bringing in stuff from GLTF land is this is the physics body extension, and it's this the file starts with node dot, which indicates it's for nodes. It says in the title it's a GLTF node extension, but then there's also this other file here, which is extending the whole document, GLTF document extension. And
mhm.
this is for everything that it goes up to the root document, and this is everything that goes into individual nodes. So there's the same like extension standard, but the extension schemas are individual. But I should also mention that there are some extensions that apply to everything. For example, there's one that adds like called KHR XMP JSON LD, which adds like copyright metadata, and that could be
Hmm.
placed anywhere in the file because like it allows you to say like, oh, this node is like licensed for this thing, you know.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm noticing is like in order to add Canvas extensions, we don't actually have to do anything other than add a data property to the Canvas node, right? Like our extensions already support that. Like we should expand on the language in the extension section to say that there's another type, but it's purely like you mentioned, Max, it's purely conceptual. We'll have like another name there,
Yeah,
but
we just need to clarify that, but yeah,
Mhm.
there's no big change. Yeah.
No big change, which is nice.
You
And I
could
think that's
even
what I think that's what I was going for when I was posed the original question is like, is our extensions general enough that we could extend another type of thing without a
Yeah,
significant change? And the answer is
yeah,
yes. And so,
clearly. Yeah.
yeah,
taken to the extreme, you could also have extensions extending other extensions because an extension could provide a field that for extensions.
That's a very good hint for the next topic, namely themes, because in themes I was really tempted to do exactly that. So if we have a theme in a very generic way, we could say that a theme is like a branch of worlds. We have the dark and the light mode.
Mhm.
But you could, in the dark mode, still have the grandparent mode with the big fonts and the teenager theme with the small fonts. So recursive theming. So you
Mhm.
say you put a theme extension on a node, then it will get inherited everywhere. So you put it in the root node, then it applies to your whole canvas. Then you have a dark mode extension, and in there you want to specify the font size. How do you do that? You just use the extension for font styling within the theme extension. I think I put that in the current draft and we can take a look. But this is where I got a bit unsure whether that's a good idea. and how to actually go on with themes.
So you did put it in, it's in the draft PR?
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, in the extensions file.
I see it. Okay, cool. Theme proposal. I'm opening that. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen real quick.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, share. Here we go. Righty. Make.
Okay, so if we have this on the root node and we put data blah blah OCIF node theme, so now we are in the theme extension and we put some data there. For example, a map using dark and light as keys, and in there, within the dark definition, we say, hey, let's define how the text style should work. So we put the extension in the extension. This is one example where nesting might be useful. The good thing is, in
Interesting.
this way, the text style extension itself doesn't know about themes. The application must be able to handle themes, and then if the application asks, okay, what's the text style? The theme extension says, wait a second, we are in the dark mode, so I'll give you this text style. And the theme
Interesting.
extension
So,
doesn't know what's in the text style, it doesn't understand that, but it can hand out the right JSON object to the other layer. So yeah, this is a way theming could be built, but maybe there are less nerdy ways to do it.
gotcha. So, okay. All right. So what we're saying is that using a theme on the, oh, this uses it on the root node, like we were just talking
Just
about.
as an Yeah,
Yeah.
just as an
Yeah.
example, yeah.
I mean, I see how useful that will be of like being able to extend the root node. Interestingly, that you called it a node extension.
Because you place it on the node. And you can also have it
Yeah,
on a node further down the inheritance tree
sure,
if you just want to
sure,
have the yellow font in this part of the map.
By the way,
gotcha.
that's
And
the
are,
same way that themes work in Godot. If subnodes can have their own themes.
cool. Yeah, this seems like a pretty expressive way to do it. So this is saying that this particular extension is in the data. So there's a called OCIF node theme. That extension can have arbitrarily named properties in it, and each arbitrarily named property can also be extended, or also has can also be extended with extensions in its data property. So um interesting.
This is just really the first draft. I think it came also out of discussions with Aaron, frankly.
Yeah. Yep.
But now that's maybe something to sleep over.
And ponder. Yeah. Um Interesting. How are you thinking about canvas extensions? I know I'm popping back to the previous conversation, but this is a good motivating example. How are you thinking about canvas extensions versus extending the root node? Like, would the view box be a node extension on the root node, or would it actually would like the entire, the like top level canvas have a data?
For the view box, that really smells like a canvas extension itself, because I
Mhm.
can't imagine what is a view box defined on a lower node. I mean, it will never be
Right.
active.
Got it. So it would actually be in the oops, not what I meant to pull open. Sorry. Here it is over here. Alrighty. So then we would have like OCIF nodes, relations, resources, schemas, and would there also be a data property at the top level?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'd add a data here underneath schemas. That would be an array, which would have an array of extensions, effectively. Let's see how we describe it here. Whoops. Yeah, it would look like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except it would say extended canvas data,
Yeah.
or canvas extension data here. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty
So that,
straightforward.
yeah. Okay. And then those extensions apply to the whole thing. And then you were saying now that we'll have a, whoops, where is that?
Another
PR.
example of a potential canvas extension would be the PR I made before for the binary data. That could be
Uh-huh.
just chucked in a canvas extension.
Yeah, that will work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to come back to your pull request here. Team proposal. Interesting. Gotcha, on the root node. And then root node proposal. Still getting my head around all this stuff. I apologize. Let's see. Okay. Gotcha. So we're going to add a root node and then add, and that points to the ID for that node, which is in the nodes array. That makes sense. And then we're adding data to the top level. Cool. No, I think that actually improves the sort of parallelism of taking advantage of the extension, this facility that we've already built to be able to extend the canvas itself. Like you said, Aaron, it handles more than one use case that we can think of already, including that binary one. Okay. Yeah, I think sleeping on the theming thing and potentially writing a few more examples might be helpful and like possibly asking an LLM to generate some alternative ways that theming could be represented, or brainstorming some alternative ways, and then being able to pro and con it for a second of like which looks better, which is easier, which is more robust.
We had some thoughts about color palettes. Do color palettes somehow fit into that
Mhm,
theming idea? I haven't thought about that,
mhm.
but it's somehow the same area.
So color palettes are interesting, in the sense that the way that both Obsidian and TLDraw work is they have named colors effectively. Um, so, and those smell like canvas extensions to me, of like these are the named colors that are available in this canvas. Um, I think I'm right about this. Yep, here they are. They're very specific. The number one is red. What red? Just red. Number
I hate that so much. I hate that so much.
Oh goodness. Yep. So yeah, you can just specify using numbers. Um, yeah. Anyway, no more to say about that. But anyway, these smell like canvas extension. Like you
Yeah,
could have a canvas extension that says like, here's your color palette. And then when specifying a color, the real question is, do we want to change how we represent colors to enable using a named color? Because right now, color, uh, we don't support a named color. We support our,
no.
so yeah. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's wrong. Oh, that adds transparency. Right. That's the 8-digit one. So
Yeah.
rarely see it specified this way. I'm used to RGBA, not
Yeah,
X
this is
with,
easier to parse.
yeah, yeah, it is. Um, okay. All right. So to recap what we've discussed so far, root nodes seem good. Canvases should have extensions by adding a data property. Theming could possibly happen by allowing extensions to extend other extensions, and provide a general facility. Okay. Any other topics? We've got about 10 minutes to.
If I can put a theme on a node,
Yeah.
and have it inherit down, why not also inherit color palettes with named colors so that a later node overrides what color 2 shows up as?
Oh, I see. So this would be like,
Either override
uh,
single colors or whole palette. I mean, but if themes can be inherited and travel down, then why not color palettes? That they seem to be so similar conceptually.
yep. And they could also be at the root node. They could be,
So
that could be an
the
extension to the root node.
the use case for these color palettes is, I'm assuming it's something like you have a color in your canvas named like background 3, and that's just like defined somewhere else, and that way you could just change that one definition to change all the places that's just using it. So it's like a semantic meaning, as opposed to like a find and replace where you have just like 10 instances of the same red tone and you have to like replace them all.
Yeah, I've been tempted to like push this responsibility onto the TL draw exporter importer and Obsidian exporter and importer and be like, look, the fact that you do weird things with color palettes, that's your problem. When you export a OCF file, like map your weird colors onto good old fashioned like hex codes. And when you import things, map them back onto your weird internal thing. Like when you see this hex code, it maps to your weird internal color red or orchid, whatever we saw in Obsidian. And then we don't have to absorb that
So we just
complexity
don't.
into the spec. Just don't
So
support
we
it.
just don't need named colors.
I don't think so.
That's a good
I don't
answer.
think we need it. I don't think we need it. It might be nice to have, and she mentioned this, I believe, last meeting, that there was that challenge of how to represent the TL draws colors. And I think my answer is just hex codes, yo.
I think this could easily be done with an extension too. You could just provide the actual colors there as like a fallback, and then just add an extension that says like, "Hey, this color is actually background 3," and then like you provide the palette, and then the app could use that if it wants, or if not, it'll just have the colors as is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure, it can be an extension, but if we specify the extension, the chance that more apps use the same extension is higher.
higher, for sure. But yeah, I'm just not, it feels, I
Yeah,
don't know.
okay.
I
Let's
don't,
wait when that comes up more often.
bingo. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of implementations and getting more usage of the spec, actual usage, Michael, do you want to give us an update on like the lib work you've done with the utility?
Yes, I've started work in a repo of my own, but I want to move it, of course, to this repo on the root.
Mm-hmm.
I'll share the link just one moment.
Sure.
It's in the Discord. Where it is? Here it is. This is the link to my repo currently, but I want to move it to the root of this repo when we feel it's good enough to do that. Currently, I can share my screen and show what I have already. That's maybe the best.
Sure. I'll stop sharing. Go for it.
Let's see. All right. I've used Annex to build this mono repo, which has currently 3 apps. One of them, and the fourth one is just for testing. And the library. This library is used by those 3 apps: JSON Canvas app, Node.js API, and the OCF Tools app. I've just included this Node.js API to test if the library also works with Node.js. And this is the JSON Canvas transformation application converter. And this is the current validator that we have. Oh. You can run them both on the same project, and they say they use both the same library.
Nice. So both those apps
So,
use the same library in the monorepo.
yeah. You can, this validator can export to JSON canvas. And that
Very cool.
JSON canvas can import that back. Or at least it should. It seems to hang now, I think. I'm not sure. Let's try again. Oh, I thought that this worked, but it doesn't seem to work.
Yeah. It's the nature of demos.
Yeah.
Never know
But,
if it's going to work. All you can say is watch this.
Yeah. Let's see, maybe I have. I should have a file somewhere, but let's try again with this one. Export. But I think the idea is clear. This should import the canvas file, and yeah, this one works.
Nice.
This is just the same tools that we already had. It's nothing new, just that they use the same library.
Yeah, which is huge.
Yeah, this library is publishable to npm if you want to. It
Very
currently
cool.
just
Yeah, I'm
has
looking
the
through
schema.
the library right now.
It's probably not. It's a very simple implementation and probably not even following the spec at all points. Because I think I've implemented a nested canvas in here some time ago before we went discussing it further. This is the TypeScript version of the schema, although it's not. It's just JSON, so not strictly validated yet. But this is this is coming from our repo, from the spec.
Very cool.
Or at least it's a start.
Mm-hmm.
There are some in the README. There are some comments that you can use to
Do the NX build. Yeah.
to start everything. I think NX is a good way to set something like this up. It's very much used. I don't know if you guys know it or worked with it.
I've worked at several companies that used it, and I never got good at it, but had like worked within those monorepos. I've never set one up myself. This is cool.
There's some good defaults, I think. So yeah.
Very nice.
OCWG thing that was shared some time ago by somebody on our Discord that uses Bun for the monorepo. I think this is much more because it depends on npm. I think that's probably better. Although Bun itself is very good, of course. But I don't think that everybody probably has that, and npm can be used probably also on all pipelines that are hosting providers like Vercel or Cloudflare.
Yeah, this looks cool.
Yeah, it's still very basic, but yeah, it's at least it's a start.
Yeah, you created a whole little ecosystem of apps and libraries.
Yeah, but that's what Annex helps you with. It's not that much work. Annex can create a monorepo, and you can just say, I want the library, I want an app, a React app or an Angular app or whatever app. If it's supported by Annex, then that's pretty easy. So that really helps.
Where's
Nice.
let's see. Yeah, how do you, what's the process by which you would publish to NPM? You said that that was already in there for the library.
It should be, yeah. Let's see. I think,
I was looking in the
yeah,
package
I
JSON.
probably
It's
should
definitely not
add
there.
commands. Yeah, I should put commands in the scripts over here. But Annex has a release command
Ah,
that you can use
got it.
to publish for publishing. But we probably should
Very
set
cool.
up an organization in npm,
Yep,
add some users to it, and then we can publish this. I think pretty
sounds
easy.
good. Yeah. Michael, do you want to set up the organization, or would you like me to do that and add users? I'm happy to be the admin
Yeah, I
if
think
that's
if you
helpful.
can do that, that's better, I think.
Okay, we'll do. I'll make a note to do that.
I can create a pull request for the to put this in our own repo. I'm not thinking what's the best way there, but yeah. I probably can just move over the files.
Yeah, I think you can move. I think you're an admin, so you should be able to just move it.
I can, of course, transfer the whole repo, but that's not what we want, I think, in this case.
You could if you want, and we could just rename the old repo and deprecate it. It's up to you.
Yeah,
Let me know, and
yeah.
I'll keep an eye open.
Then that's what we're going to do. I think that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will move it. I will transfer it. That's better, I think.
Great. Okay.
I work from there.
Well, I have another meeting I have to run to. Got a lot of good stuff this week. And yeah, talk to you guys in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I will plan a new one, but I'm not 100% sure if I will be able to join. I'm really busy upcoming weeks.
Okay. Sounds good.
So
All right. We'll see you soon. Okay.
yep.
Bye, guys.
All right.
See you.
All right. Have a great time.